In 1975, an engineer locked himself in his basement with a desperate plan. Tom Scholz had been rejected by every record label, his savings were gone, and his bandmates were quitting. But he was about to pull off a deception so perfect it would fool the entire music industry and create one of rock's most iconic sounds. This is the story of how Boston broke every rule. Tom Scholz stood 6'4" with a gentle smile that masked an obsessive mind. Born in Toledo, Ohio, on March 10, 1947, he inherited his father's inventor spirit. Don Scholz held multiple engineering patents, and young Tom absorbed that curiosity like oxygen. Every device that entered their home got disassembled. Tom needed to understand how things worked at their core. At 9 years old, he started classical piano lessons, but adolescence brought a new fascination. He didn't just want to play like his heroes, he wanted to decode their sound. That fusion of engineering precision and musical passion would define everything that followed. Tom graduated from MIT with a mechanical engineering degree in '69 and completed his master's the following year. Those credentials landed him a job at Polaroid, which funded his real dream, building a home studio in his basement where he could craft the perfect sound using equipment he designed himself. The process was grueling. Years of saving money, soldering circuits, adjusting microphones, recording demos on outdated tape machines. His basement transformed into a temple of sound. Clean, powerful, almost otherworldly. Around him gathered two allies, drummer Jim Mazdea and a vocalist named Brad Delp whose voice could shatter hearts. Together they sent demo after demo to record companies. The doors stayed locked. Nobody wanted to bet on an engineer making rock music in a basement. Tom's patience was evaporating along with his bank account. Years had passed in that basement. Countless hours recording demos and mailing tapes with nothing to show for it. He'd formed his first group called Mother's Milk in '73, but they dissolved within a year. His musical project remained stuck in neutral. Then Tom made a decision that would alter his destiny. He had $12,000 saved for a family home. Instead, he bought a professional tape recorder. This was it, his final attempt. He would record 6 more songs before walking away forever, and they had to be the 6 best compositions he'd ever written. Everyone committed fully. Mazdea handled drums, Delp delivered vocals, Tom played everything else, recorded every track, mixed every element. This wasn't just another demo. It was their last stand before surrendering to conventional careers. When the recordings were finished, the hardest part began: distribution. They sent copies to every record label they knew and to friends who might have connections. Weeks passed, then months, complete silence. Exhausted and disappointed, Mazdea quit the project. He'd invested too much energy without seeing results. This devastated Tom, who continued working his day job at Polaroid while watching his musical dreams crumble, until fate intervened. One of those distributed tapes landed in exactly the right hands, almost by accident. A coworker showed it to someone at Epic Records. When executives heard it, they were stunned. This didn't sound like a basement recording. It sounded like a band ready to fill arenas. Powerful melodies, crystalline guitars, a voice that caressed souls, and production so clean nobody believed it came from a home studio. They were hearing pure gold. But before offering any contract, Epic Records imposed one condition. They wanted proof this magic could translate live. There stood Tom Scholz once again. No band, no money, but facing the greatest opportunity of his existence. He wasn't about to let it slip away. Tom Scholz and Brad Delp refused to waste Epic Records' offer. This was their golden ticket, the reward for a decade of struggle. The duo quickly recruited old acquaintances: Barry Goudreau on guitar, Fran Sheehan on bass, and Sib Hashian on drums. With that improvised lineup, the group performed for executives in a decisive audition. The result was a resounding success. The directors were fascinated by the sound and energy. As their prize for passing the test, the record contract finally arrived. Epic Records offered an agreement for 10 albums over 6 years. Everything seemed to be rolling smoothly like a dream until they read the fine print. Epic wouldn't accept the recordings Tom had made in his basement. They wanted an album re-recorded from scratch in a professional studio under the supervision of veteran producers. But Tom wasn't willing to surrender his creation's soul. He'd spent years polishing every measure, every tone until achieving a sound that existed nowhere else. This was the fruit of his obsession, his signature, his identity. Renouncing it meant erasing his own history. Then he found an unexpected ally, producer John Boylan. Together, they devised a plan as risky as it was brilliant. The band would travel to Los Angeles to register vocals and some minor tracks, while Tom remained in Boston secretly recording the true album version in the same basement where everything started. When finished, they'd bring the multi-track tapes to Los Angeles and mix them there. Fulfilling the label's requirements without anyone knowing, the entire record was born underground in Tom's basement. The deception worked perfectly. Epic Records never suspected a thing. Tom Scholz now had the songs, the contract, and a band accompanying him. He only lacked one thing: a name, and a song that, without realizing it, was about to change everything. Tom Scholz's musical project needed a strong name. Boylan, who had marketing experience, suggested something simple, powerful, and memorable. Something evoking regional pride and American authenticity. He proposed using the city where they'd formed and where the legendary demos were recorded: Boston, Massachusetts. Tom liked the idea because it reflected connection to the city that had been his creative laboratory. Thus, Boston was born, a brief, symbolic name with identity. Finally, Boston's first album was ready for launch, but one crucial step remained. Choosing the single that would open the path. The decision was immediate. More Than a Feeling, a song Tom had polished for years in his basement that would soon transform into one of music history's greatest hits. Interestingly, the guitar heard in the introduction is an old, battered $100 Yamaha acoustic recorded in Tom's basement. When the company learned this, they gifted him a $1,000 Taylor guitar he never used. Tom preferred the imperfection of his faithful companion, the same one that had survived years in his basement. Boston's debut album, titled simply Boston, became a phenomenon. Its lead single, More Than a Feeling, was an absolute success. Brad Delp, with his almost superhuman range, elevated the song to a level few could reach. His falsetto, as delicate as it was powerful, marked the exact point where emotion became pure energy. Then came that sound, the riff that would change everything. A sonic wall of layered guitars that would define Boston's style and be imitated for decades. For some critics, that mixture of force and melody placed the group in hard rock or arena rock territory, though others detected flashes of progressive rock. More Than a Feeling reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. The debut album became the best-selling in United States history, with 17 million copies, a mark that wouldn't be surpassed for over a decade until Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. Boston also made history live. They were the first debuting band to perform directly at Madison Square Garden in New York. That night, like every concert since, the entire audience sang the More Than a Feeling chorus in unison. It was much more than a song. It had become a generational anthem. The lyrics, apparently simple, hid an intimate background. Tom confessed years later that Marianne, the woman the song evokes, was a character inspired by his cousin. An innocent childhood love mixed with nostalgia for time's passage. But that album's power didn't stop at More Than a Feeling. Each song seemed designed to become an instant classic. Tracks like Peace of Mind, which reflected Tom's personal philosophy facing the corporate system, Foreplay Long Time, which combined technical virtuosity and pure emotion, and Smokin', which ignited stages with its organ riff and overflowing energy. But reaching this success and perfection had a cost. Tom Scholz had taken 6 years to compose and record Boston's first album. While they celebrated success, the label already pressured them for the next one. The basement genius didn't know it yet, but the clock would run again. This time, the industry wouldn't wait. Not even in his wildest dreams could that tall, quiet boy experimenting in his basement have imagined what More Than a Feeling would unleash. Success was so immense it transformed Boston into a worldwide phenomenon and Tom Scholz into a figure as admired as misunderstood. But every triumph has its price. In 1978, barely 2 years after their debut, the second album, Don't Look Back, appeared. The record was an instant success. The title single climbed to the Billboard Top 10 and sales surpassed 7 million copies. Songs like A Man I'll Never Be, a melancholic ballad where technical perfection united with unusual vulnerability, and Feelin' Satisfied, a pure celebration of passion for music, consolidated Boston's fame and recognition. Any other musician would have celebrated such achievement, but not Tom. Not even the most successful song left him satisfied. After finishing the tour, Tom Scholz made a radical decision: rebuild his studio from scratch and take the necessary time to make the next album his way. No deadlines, no pressure, no interference. That choice would change Boston's destiny forever. Tom's pursuit of perfectionism and absolute control wouldn't go without consequences. During the 80s, Scholz faced a legal war with Epic Records, who sued him for breach of contract after he refused to deliver a new album under pressure. Tom responded with countersuits, alleging the label had pressured him unduly and interfered with his creative freedom. What followed was an exhausting legal battle extending through almost the entire decade. During those years, Boston remained completely silenced. Tom couldn't publish a single new song without risking contract violation, so he did what he knew best: wait and keep perfecting his sound in silence, locked once again in his musical laboratory. When he finally won the judicial battle, Tom Scholz signed with MCA Records and resumed the project suspended for years. The result of that long wait was Third Stage, an album that took almost 8 years to complete. In 1986, the silence broke. The world heard Boston again, and the response was overwhelming. Third Stage debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. Its single Amanda, an intimate, melodic ballad full of emotion, reached the top of the Hot 100. Boston was back and Tom had proven his method worked. The fourth album, Walk On, in '94, marked a new break. Brad Delp, the group's iconic voice, had left the band and was replaced by Fran Cosmo. Though the album preserved Boston's sound essence, its impact was more discreet. With the arrival of 2000, the music industry changed. Boston released Corporate America in 2002 and Life, Love and Hope in 2013. During the Reading Festival, Nirvana included verses from Boston's song as a spontaneous homage to that immortal melody. Everything began with one man trying to record songs with his friends. From that basement full of cables and dreams, Tom Scholz changed rock history and proved that genius doesn't need permission, it just needs persistence. In the end, Tom Scholz didn't just build a band, he built a sound that still feels alive. More Than a Feeling wasn't born in a studio, it was forged in a basement by a man who refused to quit. Decades later, those same chords still remind us that passion can outlast everything, even time itself. Which Boston song still hits you the hardest when you hear it?